Today, I am going to share with you a few tips on how to use Zoom, which I think have been especially useful for Toastmasters meetings. First, optimize your home setup. I recommend using an Ethernet cable if you can. This is because a cable connection often provides greater bandwidth, but moreover provides a more stable internet connection than Wi-Fi. Your router probably came with a cable. If so, all you have to do usually is just take the one end, plug it into the back of your Wi-Fi router, plug the other end into your laptop Ethernet port, and just see how that works. You might need to turn off Wi-Fi to truly test to make sure that's working. Not everybody can do it because some people connect by phone. Some laptops don't have an Ethernet port, but if you have everything handy, why don't you just give it a try? You might find that it really improves the stability of your connection. We found that out at home. Number 2, plan ahead for the resource demand. This can be as simple as communicating with your housemates when you have a Zoom call, because if you have an important call, that is a time you will hope that they are not streaming Netflix at the same time. You don't want to split your internet bandwidth between two intensive demands. Another thing I do is I make sure I'm not running extra applications in the background. Sometimes we just have a habit of having our email running. Well, I will tend to shut down my email, make sure Facebook is off on my phone even, because my phone runs off my Wi-Fi also. And look at your auto update schedule. If your phone or your laptop updates its own applications, you might be sure that you either defer those, pause those, or do them well in advance so you don't get any surprise during a Zoom meeting. Once in a while, you get a really insistent update that says you must restart now, and you certainly wouldn't want that to happen during your Zoom meeting. Now, there's one thing I'd like everybody to try. You probably noticed when anyone shares a screen like I just did, that my screen tends to take over your screen by default. Probably my slides are taking over your screen. So everybody, take your mouse right now with me and go to the top of your screen. As soon as you start moving your mouse, you should see view options light up in the white letters, top middle. Go up there, click on that, and you'll see exit full screen if you're in full screen. So please click exit full screen, and you should see the edges shrink in a little bit when you exit full screen. Go back to view options, and near the bottom you should see side-by-side mode. Click that, and you should see now the slide presentation on the left and my face or a group of faces on the right. Does everyone see that? Can you just raise your hand if that worked for you? Okay, great. So now take your mouse and move it towards the dividing line between the left and the right sides of the screen. When you're right in the middle on that dividing line, it should highlight as gray. Your cursor should turn into a double-headed cursor. And at that point, you can press down and drag that dividing line leftward to shrink the left side of the screen and increase how much real estate is on the right-hand side of the screen. So you can play around with dragging and changing the proportions of right and left. Now hang on, because I want to show you more while we're at this. At the top right, you should see a little icon saying either speaker view or gallery view. If you're in speaker view, you'll see gallery view. What I want everyone to do is try toggling into gallery view using that button. And if you just saw my one face and you go into gallery view, hopefully now you'll see everybody's faces. If you drag that dividing line more to the left, you'll see more space for more faces, and you might even be able to fit everybody onto the screen. Does everyone see that? Can you raise your hand if you see that? Okay, great. Okay, so That's one way that you might want to use settings during Toastmasters in particular to see both the slideshow and what's going on with your audience, or the timer. So that leads me to the last thing I want to show you, pin video. If you go to anyone's little pane and you go to the top, that way, the top right corner, you'll see a little blue box with 3 dots. Click on that, and under that, you'll see pin video. So if you pin anyone's video, probably what Zoom does right away is just collapse everybody and makes that one show up the most. It assumes you want speaker view, but you can toggle back to gallery view, again, using the other button. And what pin video does is makes that camera visible, that video visible, no matter what you're doing. So whether you're in side-by-side mode or speaker or gallery view, that will always show. So if you're a speaker, you might want to pin the timer, and it just allows more flexibility for whatever you want to do. Moving on, I wanted to talk to you about some audio tips. Every once in a while, somebody connects and you can't hear them very well. They're just breaking up or dropping out. And really what they probably have to do at that point, if they haven't tried to use a cable, it's probably too late, they can call in. So usually what you can do is when you're moving your mouse, you'll see the options at the bottom of the screen that look like this, and the button you use to mute and unmute has a little arrow next to it. If you press the little up arrow, you got more options. Depends on the Zoom account you have, but hopefully you see audio options. You click on that and you have the choice between computer audio and phone call. If you click on the phone call tab, you should get the number you need to dial in. If you want to dial in, because your computer audio is not working well for you, and the meeting ID, participant ID, you'll need to punch those in after you connect. The great thing about it is you can even use a landline, so that should really help your audio improve. Excuse me. Finally, sharing video and audio requires special settings if you're doing this while you're on a Zoom call. Usually when we screen share, we just go to the bottom options, and that middle green button, if you're moving your mouse around, you'll see is the screen share button. Before you share the screen, but after you click that green button, you usually get a pane in which you select the screen you want to share. Before you do that, if you're sharing audio, what you really need to do is look at the left bottom. There are 2 checkboxes. I'm enlarging them here so you can see. If you're sharing audio, like say a music soundtrack from your computer, you have to click share sound, or else it'll come out choppy, or maybe participants won't hear it at all. And that's because when you're on Zoom, Zoom assumes you're going to be talking to your mic, and that's your only input source because it wants to optimize for your voice. So if you want music to play as well, you have to let it know to also stream your audio. Finally, if you're sharing a video clip, you can do it without checking optimize screen share, but it would be a lot choppier if you do not have that checked. So you want to have it checked so it shares more frames per second. If that video is silent, you don't have to share computer sound, have that clicked. But if you do have sound with video, you want to make sure you have both, so it'll sync it well and not be choppy. In summary, there are many things you can do to optimize how you use Zoom, especially for Toastmasters meetings. Hope you all learned something today, and I'd be happy to share these slides with you if anyone would like. Just let me know.